there's a new scandal, a new crisis being leaked by the prosecutor's office, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, filled with a bunch of Democrat hacks, I'm afraid. Oh, yes. When the president paid hush money to two women, and he was intimately involved in paying the hush money, and not only that, in at least one case, he used the National Enquirer. He committed federal election crimes. Now, how many more times do I have to explain that this is bogus? Bogus, 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 bogus. Now, I will explain it again in hour 3. And, of course, this is what is called propaganda. It's leaked by the government against the president to the paper of record, the Holocaust-denying New York Slimes, and then picked up by MSLSD, which hires such luminaries as Chris Matthews and Al Sharpton. It's picked up by CNN, which hires such luminaries as, well, there aren't any. But you know the point. Oh, the president's in deep, deep trouble now, you know. Hush money, they call it. It's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement. Let us ask the people at CNN, how many non-disclosure agreements have been signed? Let us ask the people at MSLSD, how many non-disclosure agreements have been signed? Do you know, poor Megyn Kelly, who's under attack by Andrew Lack and the clowns at NBC, and you know what? She did a pretty damn good job over there, and I'm being quite honest about it. Well, they wanted to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Hush money. Hush money. Now, these non-disclosure agreements are signed all the time by people who are pushed out of businesses or companies, or want to leave businesses or companies, or want to leave Capitol Hill, or they enter into negotiations on litigation, and on and on and on. Non-disclosure agreements are signed by media outlets, by reporters, by commentators, by publishers, by broadcast companies. Do they call it hush money? No. But when it comes to Trump, it's hush money. No, it's a non-disclosure agreement. And apparently it didn't work. Two women were paid a lot of money, and he didn't shut the hell up. So how's that hush money to begin with? It's a crime. How so? Well, he wanted them to be quiet so it wouldn't hurt his election chances. Well, that's not a crime. Hey, Southern District of New York, you're really not that good. Your prosecutors, you're really not that smart. You may have gotten Michael Cohen to cop to these two because you had him on tax fraud and loan fraud and all kinds of fraud. But the President of the United States is 1,000 times smarter than Michael Cohen. Certainly more than Lanny Davis. Lanny. Who calls their kid Lanny? You got 1,000 names to pick from. I have an idea, honey. What? Let's call him Lanny. Would you call your kid Lanny, Mr. Producer? No. No. Would not call my kid Lanny. It's like a boy named Sue. All right. Now I want to get to this issue where they're breathing heavily in the media. The spittle is flying all over the camera lens. They're so excited they're handing out Depends. Hey, and listen to the phraseology they use. The president paid hush money to keep two women quiet before the election. And it turns out he was involved in the details of the payment of hush money. And in at least one case, the money was laundered through the National Enquirer Company. This has caught the attention of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. Breaking news. You don't like these cable shows? Some guy's clipping his toenails. Breaking news. Breaking news. Everything. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. It's not breaking news. Certainly not in this case. We've talked about this already. Michael Cohen is a fool. He pled to 2 felonies involving the violation of election laws that are not felonies. You're allowed to enter into non-disclosure agreements involving private matters that occurred even before you're President of the United States. You're allowed to do that. Well, he did it to hush them so it wouldn't hurt his election. He's allowed to do that. There's nothing illegal about that. Nothing whatsoever. Well, he worked with the National Enquirer, and they killed a story, and they offered to make a payment for the woman's silence. So what? That's not illegal. That's not laundering money. Laundering money, ladies and gentlemen, is when you get ill-begotten money and launder it through a process to try and cover up the initial crime. There's no crime here. There's no money laundering here. But the geniuses in the Southern District of New York, they're best prosecutors in the world. They've got this all figured out. And they've leaked it all to their favorite media, including the Holocaust-denying New York Times, where I believe Maggie Haberman works. All the reporters want to work there. Brian Stelter used to work there. Who's he? Exactly. They all want to work for a newspaper that helped cover up the Holocaust because they didn't want to upset Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Oh, those were the days, weren't they? Those were the days of the great media. Just like today. These are not crimes. President is free to pay for NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Whether he was involved in the details or not is of no consequence whatsoever, period. Next subject of a constitutional crisis. I'll be right back.